All right, we're going to start lesson 2 of Adobe Photoshop Classroom in a Book 2025. One thing I like to do before I start a lesson is I will go through and reset my essentials. So if you go up to Windows, go down over to Reset Essentials, it sets everything back up the way it was, because I usually pull out panels and things like that. So when I'm starting a new project or assignment, I like to reset everything. Once you do that, it will bring you into this empty Photoshop. You can always click the home button to go back to this screen. Now in lesson 2, if you're following along with the book, it tells you to open your files using Adobe Bridge. We're not going to use Adobe Bridge. Adobe Bridge can be very helpful when you're opening multiple files, but for this particular assignment, we're not going to be using Adobe Bridge. We're just going to open the file into Photoshop. So what we want to do is we are going to open up our lesson 2 file, which is it's titled 02 Start, and it is a TIFF file. So you can do that by clicking open and then going to your folder that has your file saved and clicking on that. So once you download it from Canvas, just make sure you know where you've saved it and then just open it this way. And we'll talk more about Adobe Bridge in class and the benefits of that. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do now that we have it opened is we are going to go through and we're going to kind of evaluate the image before we dive right in. So we're going to go up and we're going to choose View and go down to Rulers. Make sure your rulers are, make sure your rulers are on. And then you can come down here and evaluate and click on this little guy here, and you can see the document dimensions, and it tells you all of the sizes and everything that's going on. So it's just kind of a good way to evaluate your image. And you can also right click here and go to inches, and we can see that this current file is 9 inches by 9 inches. So you have that dimension. And you notice when I changed the ruler up here, it also changed the sizing down here. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and start editing this image. Now, if you notice, it looks like it's kind of like an old image. It looks like it was probably scanned in. There's like this weird hair here. There's a crease, like it was folded, and then it is not straight. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to straighten this and crop it. So we're going to go over to our tools and we're going to find our crop tool. And it's this guy right here. If you hover over it, you can see that the shortcut for it is C. So we're going to use our crop tool. Now there's a couple ways you can kind of do this. You can manually adjust it, or you can actually use specific settings. So up here in the option bar, we're going to choose our width and height resolution. And right here, change this to width and height resolution. So that way we can actually manually enter. So we're going to select a preset. Okay. So ratio should be the default. So yes, this all looks good. Okay. So now we are going to, in the options bar, we're going to put 7 inches here, and we want it 7 by 7. So instead of 9 by 9, we're going to make it 7 by 7. Since I already have my ruler set to inches, it did 7 pixels. So I'm going to do 7IN, 7IN. Okay, so we want inches. Okay, so that's for both height and width. And then for our resolution here, our pixels, we're going to do 300. Okay, so you want this to be width and height resolution 7 inch by 7 inch, 300 pixels per inch. Okay. Oops. All right. Now we are going to, in the option bar, we are going to click this tool right here, which is our straighten tool. So we're going to click on that, and we're going to position our pointer in the top left corner of the image. So that's right here. And we are going to click and drag all the way across the top edge. So what this is doing is it's telling Photoshop where is the actual top edge, so it knows to straighten it. Now you can kind of do it from the white outline or from this little bit off white, as long as it's straight. So I'll show you what it looks like doing it the other way. We can do straight. You can go from like the blue part if that's easier for you to see. And then click and drag and then let go. And so now the actual image is straightened because this part is a little bit thinner than this part. And we really want to focus on the actual image, okay? So now that is straightened, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to drag our sides in because we want just the blue of the picture. So you will manually adjust it. Okay. Once we've got that, you're going to click either done, or you can click the little check marks up here, or you can simply push enter and it will crop it. If you don't like how it came out, just push Control Z, and then you can reuse. Let's see, we got this all set up. Use the straighten tool. Oops, click and drag, click and drag. Use the straighten tool, and then like I said, you can manually bring this in. Move this guy over. You can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to do really fine adjustments. Okay, that looks good. Still a tiny little white sliver, but that's not bad. Okay. So now that we have that done, you can choose to save your work here so you don't lose the work that you've already done. All right. Now we're going to adjust some of the colors. So what we want to do is we're going to use the adjustment panel and we're going to scroll down to the single adjustment categories. So adjustment panels right here. Pull that out for you. And we want single adjustment. And we want curves, which is this guy right here. So now this is opened up. And basically these are some color adjustments. We're going to select, as you can see, there's a white eyedropper, and then this is kind of a gray one, and then a black one. So this is our highlights, our midtones, and our dark tones, like our shadows. So we're going to select the white pointer. Boop. And we're going to click on what is a white stripe on this little girl's shirt. I'm going to zoom in so I can get a good picture. So we kind of want like a nice white area on the shirt. So I'm going to select like right probably here. It's fine. And what that does is it sets the tone for what the whites are. So it's telling Photoshop where the whites are. All right. So in the adjustment panels here, if needed, you can click the tab to make it visible. So we're going to now click on levels. Levels is right here. So now we're going to have this levels. And then we are going to drag this middle, which is our middle tones, to 0.90, or you can just type it in 0.90. Okay, so it adjusted it a little bit. And now we're going to flatten the image. And what this does when we flatten an image is it combines all these layers together, so the adjustments that you've made, it's going to merge them together. So this is good because it flattens the image, it makes it smaller, it makes it to where you are working with all of your adjustments at once. But you do need to be careful, because if I ever want to undo these levels and color changes, I can't, and I would just have to open up the image and start over from scratch. And we'll talk about what is destructive designing and non-destructive designing. But for right now, we are going to flatten our image. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to click on layer, and we're going to go down to flatten image. There we go, all the way down at the bottom, flatten image. And as you can see, it's merged all of those layers together. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to repair some damages and things like that. So I'm going to close this guy. In the tools panel, we're going to select the spot healing brush, which is, if you click and hold on the band-aid, there's a whole bunch of tools here. We want the spot healing brush tool. So we're going to click on that top one. In the option bar, we're going to change the size to 25. And we want the brush to be 100% hardness. That's good. So when a brush is 100% hard, that means the edges are like straight edges, they're sharp edges. If we change the hardness down, it becomes really blurred and like soft feathery edges. So for this situation, we want just a hard edge on our brush. So we're going to keep that up to 100%. And then we're going to make sure we want content aware selected here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to first heal this area here. So this is like a hair that was like on the scanner when they scanned the photo. So you're just going to kind of click your mouse, and I'm clicking and I'm holding down my mouse button until I've got it all painted, and then I'm going to release it and it removes it. Okay, now we're going to work on this crease. So we're going to zoom in, and we're going to start with this top part of the crease. Okay, in the tools panel, we're going to click and hold over this guy. So we'll open up all of these brushes again. And now we are going to select the remove tool. Okay, you might get a little pop-up. Just click, okay, you agree, because it might be something to do with AI. Okay, so in the options bar, we're going to set our size to 25. So sometimes it's just easier to type it. And we want it to make sure remove after each stroke is selected. So remove after each stroke is selected, so that's good. All right. So now we're going to position the remove tool at the top of the crease of the sky and drag it along the crease, stopping just before the bridge. So we're just going to do the blue part of the sky. So you're just going to paint it right down here, and then right as it gets to the bridge, we will stop. Okay. And then as you can see, it did a pretty good job. If you want to go back in here and touch up, if you don't like, I don't like these guys. All these weird little marks. So you can go in there and clean all that stuff up. All right, so now we're going to continue removing the rest of the crease by dragging the remove tool down along the crease until it reaches the bottom. So I'm just going to scroll down, and then we're going to do the same thing right on that line. And boom. And you can kind of, if there's like some weird lines, you can kind of go in there and touch those up. Okay, so it did a pretty good job. Did a good job on the bridge and everything here too. All right. Try and do it in one line for the sky and one line for the bridge, okay? If you've done it multiple times, it could mess it up, so it's better to do it in the least amount as possible. Okay, so the next part that we want to do is we are going to remove this guy here. He is not a part of this family. We don't want him there. So now what we're going to do is we're still going to use the same tool, but we are going to change the brush size to 100. Okay. And if need to, you can scroll over, you can zoom. I want to kind of put it in the middle so you guys can see what we're doing. All right. We want to remove him. So make sure you paint over him. Make sure you also paint over his shadow. We want his shadow removed as well. Okay, and then, okay, not terrible. Left a little right there. So it just depends on how good it is. This is where you can run into some problems with the remove tools with like the new AI features. But I'm just going to shrink my brush and go back over that. And that looks pretty good. It did a decent job on the building. You can tell there are some, like there's like this faint little shadow. So I'm kind of wondering, I'm going to take this back up to 100. Maybe I just did not get that area good enough. Of course. Of course. All right. It won't let you scroll down, so make sure. Okay. Make sure you get a little over. Let's try it this way. Sometimes it's good to Control Z and try it a little bit more. Okay. Okay, that's better. I like that. It didn't do too much weirdness with the building here. It did a much better job. Left the bricks really good. Yeah, overall, pretty happy with that. That doesn't look too bad. Okay, so the remove tool and generative fill are pretty new. So as you can tell, it is a little different here. So sometimes you do need to go in and touch up. Okay, so there's another way of removing him. And so we're gonna look at both ways, okay? So I am going to undo, okay? So we can look at both ways. So in the tools panel, you're going to select the option tool, which is this one here. And so you can see how when you hover, it's pretty good about selecting the person. So we're gonna hover over him. If you click and drag, it'll draw a rectangle over him. And then you can see that it does a pretty good job of painting him. And if you're not happy with it, you can make it a little bigger, try it again. Okay, so it does a pretty good job. Make sure his shadow is selected. And then in our little pop-up here, we're gonna click generative fill. Okay, yes, we know. And then we're not going to put anything because we just want it to remove. And we're just going to put generate. Okay. So now you can see how it's done with this. But it's nice because it's on its own separate layer. So if you click and turn this off, he is right there. And then you can also, oops, when it's on, you can click on some of the different versions. So it usually gives you like 3. So pick which one you think works best. I like that one best. You also can turn this off and use the original tool that we use, the remove tool here. So I'm going to leave it up to you which one you want to do. It's completely up to you. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to sharpen our image. So we're going to flatten our image again once you've decided how you want to do it. If you want to do the generative fill through AI, or if you want to do it using the remove tool. So it's a little bit weird here, but the building looks better on this one, but the bricks kind of look better on this one. So like I said, just pick which one you like best, whichever method. So I'm going to just go with this one, and then we're going to flatten our image again. So I'm going to go up here to layer, go down to flatten image. Now I can't change this, like it's done. Okay, so if I'm really unhappy with this, I would have to start over. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up here to filter, go down to sharpen, and we are going to go over to smart sharpen. It's going to open up this panel here. We want lens blur, and then we're going to drag the slider of amount to 100, and you can always type it in. And then the radius should be 3, and we'll leave this at 10. Okay, and then click OK. And basically what that did, so this is before, it's got a little tiny fuzz, right? And then this is with the sharpen tool. So it's just kind of yeah. So this is before, and that's after. So it sharpens it up, cleans up some of the details a little bit. And that's all you really need to do for lesson 2. So save your file and turn it in to me on Canvas, and you're good to go. So save as, and then name it with your first and last name, you know, lesson 2, first and last name, and then turn it in to me.